So we are, what chapter is this? Let's see. We're just before the date, Saturday, September 6th, 1884. I think we're on page 400 and something, 432 in my PDF, but I don't think that's right in the book.
Yeah,
Anybody?
I have page 506 or 507.
Okay.
What
And
do
we're on
you,
we're on the
any,
paragraph master. You are right. You know
yes,
down. Okay.
that's at the bottom of 506.
The bottom of 506. There we are, our official word. All right. So the bottom of 506. And we're talking about renunciation here. And the master, Sri Ramakrishna, has asked M, who's the one that's been taking all the notes and actually is responsible for writing this book, asks him what the meaning of renunciation is. What does it mean to renounce? And M answers, he says, renunciation does not mean simply a dispassion for the world. It means dispassion for the world and also a longing for God. This is very, very, very important because it's one of the things most often misunderstood about renunciation, that renunciation is not about what you're giving up. It's about what you're going toward, right? And so if your renunciation is about what you're leaving behind, that's going to be problematic. Because if you have any sense that you're leaving behind something of value or something that you're not sure you wanted to let go of, it's going to take quite a bit of discipline to give root to that renunciation, for that renunciation to really take you forward. And so renunciation should be the idea that you have become so attracted to what you're discovering and finding in your practice that you're willing to give up your attention to the world and to pursue those spiritual ideals primarily before your worldly ideals. And so this idea that it's not just a matter of having a dispassion, not just a matter of discerning how everything in the world has an expiration date, nothing lasts, nothing offers what it promises. You know, all of our desires promise such wonderful fulfillments. And yet when they happen, almost the moment that they're completed, we want more. We're not done. And so knowing that, we have to accept the fact that if we're going to go after worldly enjoyments, you know, but things of the body mind, which you're welcome to do, there's no prohibition in a sense like that. The prohibition is just that it's not going to take you toward the goal necessarily if you just go out and enjoy the world, and you'll just get caught in a lot of different cycles, and those cycles will multiply based on your desires, whether it's cycles of behavior, meaning going out to clubs and parties and whatnot continuously, you know, or depending on drugs. And again, that also, you know, becomes a problem, becomes cyclical. And if you're not a self-controlled person, those cycles tend to go down, which means you get more and more compulsive about fulfilling those desires. And you become more and more particular about what will qualify to fulfill those desires. So it's just built-in trouble. But it's not just walking away from those things, right? It's walking towards something. Life is about love and light and joy and the wonder of being. And just walking away from worldly life isn't going to produce that. You have to walk away from worldly life because you have found something better, because you are touching something that is real to you, something that's lasting for you. And let me just change something here real quick. I'm muting everyone so we don't get any phones and whatnot in the background. Hello, Anna. And so the renunciation, according to M, he says it does not simply mean dispassion for the world, but it also means a longing for God or a moving toward something. You're getting something better than what you're leaving behind. And so a mature renunciation is about what you're getting and what you're focusing on and where you're going, and not so much looking over your shoulder at what's being left behind. So the master says, he says, you're right. Yes. You no doubt need money for your worldly life. So he's just taking it directly to the practical. Yes, you know, renunciation, we do renounce the world, but of course, he's talking to householders. He's talking to people that have families and homes and whatnot. So he says, you no doubt need money for your worldly life, but don't worry too much about it, right? Don't make it a big focal point of yours. Because the wise course is to accept what comes of its own accord. Be content with what you have, is what he's saying. And don't make plans for getting more for the sake of fulfillment, because it will not fulfill. You will always spend the money that you have, and you will always need more. This is one of the things I found in my days before the monastery, is that, I started working when I was a teenager and, made minimum wage. And then in college, got a little bit of a better job and made a little bit more money. And then I got out of college and got my professional job and made plenty of money. But the one thing I saw through all of that is that I always spent what I earned. And I was always the same amount broke, no matter how much money I was bringing in, because that's the nature of money. That's the nature of enjoyment. You spend what you've got. And if you discipline yourself and you save, wonderful. But he's saying here, don't spend a whole bunch of time on it. It's not a matter of, yeah, it's not a matter of how much or how much you're making or how much you're getting or anything like that. There's not like you shouldn't make money and you shouldn't have a job, that you shouldn't be interested in getting more money, because that's not the fact. The role of the householder requires money, and you should make as much money as you can. It's not how much you make that's important. It's what you do with it that's important. And so, if you're making money just for yourself and getting continuously bigger cars, bigger houses, bigger televisions, bigger stereos, well, shame on you. You're just like everyone else, right? And so, really, what you want to do is there's a hierarchy of responsibility for the householder path, because the householder is a path. There are no unspiritual paths in this world. Householder and monk are just the two fundamental paths to your realization. And so, householder is a path. And on that path, you have to obey the injunctions, just like a monk has to obey his injunctions for being a monk in order for that path to actually move him toward the divine. It's the same for the householder. And those injunctions are that you are the pillar of society as a householder. So your first responsibility, of course, is to be able to cover your own expenses in your life, take care of yourself in this world. And then when you find a partner that you're going to work with through your life, then your ego now expands to include two people. And so your life becomes a compromise between your needs and their needs and whatnot. And so you take care of them. Then you may have some kids, grow your family a little bit. Now your ego grows to expands to cover everybody in your direct family. And then as time goes on, they'll get friends, and they'll also have lovers and have children. And so your sphere of responsibility keeps expanding. And this is how householders get the ego situation taken care of. Monks, they push it all away. They have no money. They're never asked for their opinions until they take their senior vows. So that's it's an ego crushing machine in a different way. But in householder life, you have an ego, but you keep expanding it to include everybody within your sphere. So your first responsibility is yourself. Second is your family. Third is your extended family and friends. And fourth is extended family, friends, direct family, and yourself, and your spiritual community that you're a part of, helping it and supporting it. And if you're lucky enough to still make enough money to go beyond that realm, then it's society at large is your responsibility to maintain. So it's the responsibility of the householder to make sure that people in their society are fed, that people that are in their social sphere are loved and taken care of, and that you live your life. And so if you are spending your life on that, that is your path, and that is healthy. If you're running after money to do other things that are more selfishly oriented, meaning you've already got all you need, but you just want more stuff or bigger stuff or more expensive stuff, then, that's all right. And sometimes necessary because we have to learn that it's not valuable, that it doesn't help, that you never get enough of it, that new top-end car that you buy is not going to be the new top-end car next year. And so by design, you're going to lose your contentedness with it. And so just be careful about that. So he says, obviously you need money. It's not about that. And we're not going to get nitpicky about exactly what and how you need to do with it. We work on principles. We don't work on rules in Vedanta more often than not. So you need money for your worldly life, but don't worry too much about it. The wise course is to accept what comes of its own accord. Be happy with what is coming to you, what is yours, right? Be content with that. The moment, the ideal is to always be content in the moment, right? To not need anything to change for your contentedness, for your bliss, for your happiness in life, right? To be able to sit in this moment, see what the world has given you, and sit here in the company of your beloved and find contentment, find joy in being. That's the practice. That's where we want to go, because ultimately, whether you're a monk or a householder, the rule remains nothing, no condition or circumstance outside of yourself can make you happy, can bring you fulfillment. That all of that 100% is within, right? It's how you process the world, how well you know your own nature, and how much of a connection you have established with that divine nature of yours. That's where the source of fulfillment is. That's where contentment lies. It's not in circumstances and conditions. So we know that. He says, don't take too much trouble to save money, right? Don't, because what happens when you do that is you then begin believing that it's your money that is your security, right? And if you're looking for security, no amount of money is ever going to be enough for you. Please just take a look around the world at the moment at those who have the most and see that they are not content. None of them has quit working and said, oh, I'm just going to go sit on a beach now. I have all the money I need and I'm secure. No, they are all working harder than ever, trying to get more and more, and even being willing to take away the the pittance that they've been parting out to others. And so that's not the best way. That's the disease of greed. So the wise course, accept what comes of its own accord. Be content in the moment. Don't take too much trouble to save money. Those who surrender their hearts and their souls to God, those who are devoted to Him and have taken refuge in Him, do not worry much about money. As they earn, so they spend. The money comes in one way and goes out the other. This is what the Gita describes as accepting what comes of its own accord. Okay, so it's not something we pursue because we know that there is not happiness there. There is not contentment there. We cannot find security there. We take refuge in the divine, and that's going to mean different things to you as you grow. It's important, the first stage when God seems so far away and it actually seems like He doesn't exist, or it's a conjured, imaginary friend that we're carrying around like a balloon as adults. Hopefully we can work to get out of that perspective of God as quick as possible, and to grow into the understanding that God is a divine principle, the divine principle of the unconditioned love, the divine principle of an infinite and abiding wisdom and existence, isness, being. That this is the evidence of the beloved, and that as you learn your place in this existence of God, and you grow in that, your inner bliss becomes apparent, and the fulfillment of these promises becomes apparent to you, and you understand why Ramakrishna would tell you this, because it is in fact true that those who surrender their hearts to God need not worry about these things. God takes care of these things. Sounds like a tall order? Go do some tests. Go do some experimenting for yourself and see how it works. See how life is. I've shared my experiences with it over the last few years, and I have been stunned and staggered by the fact that God does, in fact, provide unasked, in this. Those who surrender their hearts and souls to God, those who are devoted to Him and have taken refuge in Him, do not need to worry much about money. As they earn, so they spend. The money comes in one way and goes out the other. This is what the Gita describes as accepting what comes of its own accord. So it's really, we just don't want to spend much mind time on it. Money is a necessity for carrying on as a body mind in this world, but that's it. It's not an answer. How much you have is not going to make a difference in your spiritual life. What you do with it and how much you depend on it, how much you take refuge in it, that's going to have lots to do with your spiritual life. Okay. The master referred to Haripada and said, "He came here the other day. M. He knows how to sing the stories of the Purana. He sings melodiously about the life of Prahlada and the nativity of Sri Krishna." Master, is that so? That day I looked into his eyes. They had an inward look to them. I asked him whether he meditated a great deal, but he sat with his eyes cast down and didn't answer. Then I said to him, "Look here, don't strain yourself too much." All right, so he he was actually concerned, because he was looking, he saw that indrawn look, but there was some concern for him there that maybe our young man here, um, what was his name here? Haripada. That maybe Haripada had been pushing a little bit too hard. This is something that we do early on in spiritual life when ego gets in charge, right? And it becomes sort of a type A competitive competition accomplishment sort of thing where we meditate, we push the limit. We treat it like a workout, like a mental physical workout. We just go and just, wow, one more, no pain, no gain. That's not going to help too much in spiritual life. Spiritual life happens best in small bites, steady steps, and a consistent progress. Right? It's way better to get your 2 minutes of meditation in twice a day at the same time every day than it would be to get 2 or 3 hours in every now and then as it occurs to you and is possible. Right? So rather than going for big and heroic efforts in spiritual life, do small, little, steady advances that are modest and are easily done by you. Uh, they're not a strain and a stress. That's the best way for going forward. You've got your life, you do it. It's a matter of grace, so it's not a matter of summary of efforts, right? What is important is your earnestness. Holy Mother says, that just a couple of minutes of earnest and sincere meditation is much better than an hour of wandering mind, of battling inside. So this is relationship. This is not a set of tools of weights and measures that we're trying to achieve something with. This is getting a suntan, that we slowly increase our stamina, slowly increase our commitment, slowly increase our investment, and we just keep going, but with a sense of relaxation, a sense of steadiness, right? A secure stepping. It's not at all janky, A little bit of this, a little bit of that. Oops, a bunch of this. Oops, none of that. So steadiness and maintained consistency is the best for spiritual life. So when he looks in his eyes and he sees a little bit of an indrawn look, and he gets a sense, probably just by the fact the guy doesn't even answer him, don't strain yourself, Haripada. Yes, do your practice, but don't be pushing too hard. The mind will break. If you push beyond your level of spirituality, which means the yamas and the niyamas, the do's and don'ts. It's like you have to pay as much attention to securing, your lust and your greed and your anger and your jealousy. Those things also have to be taken care of in step with your meditation. And if you're not growing in those things, but you're growing in your time of meditation, that's actually going to be destructive for you. All right. If you have not controlled your sex drive and you start doing huge amounts of meditation, that's going to make your sex drive even harder to control because it's going to add energy to it, right? Same thing if you're an angry person. If you don't manage that anger and then you do lots of spiritual practice, you're going to become super angry because a spiritual practice increases that prana, increases that energy within. And if you haven't learned to control the gates on your chakras and to move that energy up the channel as it grows and as it increases, then you run into a lot of problems in spiritual life. So better to be slow and steady and careful and earnest and sincere in your practice. Those are the most important things in there. It was dusk, and Sri Ramakrishna was usual as was usual with him during the past part of the day, chanted the names of God and turned his mind to contemplation. Soon the moon rose in the sky. The temples, courtyards, and trees were bathed in its silvery light, and millions of broken moons played on the rippling surface of the Ganges. Rakal and M were with the master in his room. So it's wonderful, these things, to have these little routines in our life for our spiritual practice to kind of help maintain a mind, a positive mind, and a healthy mind. We've got our meditations when we get up, we've got our practices, we've got our singing that we can do and chanting the names of God that we can do, all of those things, to have little routines. So like when you get up, the first part of the day should always be a steady routine. You do this first, and then you do this, and then you do this, right? So that, for instance, I get up, the first thing I do is make my bed, clean my room, shower, get ready, and then come in and sit, for my practice. And then when the practice is finished, then I go and make myself a nice cup of coffee, and then I pick up a nice holy book or something that's being studied and sit with that, and have my cup of coffee and my chit chat with the divine as the day goes, and then on and on. And so in the evening here, this is a nice thing to do. Have an evening, where you sit and sing some songs, or you chant some of the chants, or you sing the names of God, which is, just using your mantra if you want. But to have something that keeps your mind occupied so that you don't go idle. When you're idle, that's the toughest part in spiritual life. If you're being idle, as a Christian, they used to say that an idle mind is the devil's playground, you know. And so it's very true, and I'm really seeing that in this new posting that I'm here because I'm independent more so than ever actually here. No one's watching me, no one's checking, to make sure that I'm doing my meditations and that I'm reading my books and taking care of things. And so I've really had to practice this. I've really had to hold this up. I can tell you it's difficult to get up early in the morning when you're the only one getting up and there's not really a need to get up early in the morning, right? You sit up and the mind who has never argued in the monastery I had to be in the shrine at 5 in the monastery, there was never an argument because everybody was going to be in the shrine at 5. And so there you were. But here, when nobody's anywhere at any time and that alarm goes off at 5, it's amazing how much more the mind wants to argue. Like, nah, you could take another hour. What's another hour? Or 20 minutes. So you see, these are the things we have to watch out for. And what he's talking about here, what's being presented here, is that we fill our days with these means, these kind of touchstones that we place on our schedule throughout the day of things that bring our mind back to center, bring us back to the awareness of our inner world, take us out of the world of the mind, with its constant what ifs, whens, hows, do I have to, now I must, this must, that must. Come out of that space and sing the song of contentment for a moment inside. Spend some time bringing yourself back to center. So it was dusk, and Sri Ramakrishna, as was usual with him during the past part of the day, he chanted the names of God and turned his mind to contemplation. Soon the moon rose in the sky. The temples, the courtyards, the trees were bathed in its silvery light, and millions of broken moons played on the rippling surface of the Ganges. Rakal and M were with the master and in his room. I can't help but think that M is drawing our mind a little bit to that Upanishadic story about the moon in the disturbed lake is a multiplicity of shards of light. You can't really see the singularity of the moon, right? Because the lake is disturbed and the reflection of the moon is being broken into 1,000 pieces. So you can't recognize the oneness. And the Upanishads say that when mind is active like that, the God, reflection of God in the mind, you can't see him. You see only the multiplicity. And you wonder if there even is a moon in the sky, because the mind is so churned up. So I can't help but think that he's playing with that a little bit as he calls it, millions of broken moons playing in the water. Master to M. Baburam says, "Oh, the worldly life, God forbid." M. His opinion is based on mere hearsay. What does he know of the world? He's merely a child. Master. Yes, that's true. Have you noticed Niranjan? He's utterly artless. M. Oh, yes, sir. His very appearance attracts people. How expressive his eyes are. Master, not only his eyes, but his entire person. His relatives proposed that he marry. At this he said, "Why are you going to drown me?" With a smile, "Tell me this. People say that a man finds great pleasure in the company of his wife after the hard work of the day." M. Well, that is no doubt true of those who think that way. To Rakal with a smile, "We are now being examined. This is a leading question." You get, you get a nice little personality hint there, like Ramakrishna is saying to him, Ramakrishna turns to M and says to him, "Oh, I hear that you get a lot of pleasure from your wife at the end of a day of hard work." And M, answers his question and then turns to his buddy next to him and says, "We're being examined. We better answer cautiously here." He's asking a leading question. Both Rakal and M were married, not to each other, but to others. Master with a smile. A mother says, "I shall heave a sigh of relief if I can procure a shade tree for my son. He will rest in its shade when scorched by the heat of the world." M. True, sir, but there are parents and there are parents. A father who is spiritually illumined doesn't give his children in marriage. If he does, he is a fine spirituality. Adar Sen arrived from Calcutta and saluted the master. After a few minutes, he went to the temple of Kali, where M followed him. A little later, M was sitting by the bathing ghat on the Ganges. The flood tide had just set in. As he listened to the waters lapping against the bank, many pictures of Sri Ramakrishna's divine life flitted before his mind. The master's deep samadhi, his constant ecstasy, his joy in the love of God, his untiring discourse on spiritual life, his genuine love for the devotees, and above all, his childlike simplicity. Who was this man? Was it God who had embodied himself on earth for the sake of his devotees? Adar and M returned to the master's room. Adar had been reading to Chittagong in East Bengal on official duty. Had been to Chittagong. He was telling the master about this visit to the Chandranath Hills and to Sitakunda, sacred places of Chittagong. Adar. Near Sitakunda, I visited a well there where I saw fire in the water. It is always burning on the water with leaping tongues. Master. How is that possible? Adar. The water contains phosphorus. Presently, Ram Chatterjee entered the room. The master said some kind words about him to Adar. Master, Ram's presence in the temple garden has relieved us of many anxieties. He searches out Harish, Latu, and the others at mealtime. Very often they are absorbed in meditation in some corner of the temple garden. It is Ram who sees that they eat at the proper time. Saturday, September 6th, 1884. Master at Adar's house. About 3 o'clock in the afternoon, Sri Ramakrishna was seated in Adar's parlor on the second floor. Narendra, the Mukherjee brothers, Bhavanath, M, Hazra, and the other devotees were with the master. Arrangements were being made for Narendra to sing. While he was tuning the tanpura, one of the strings snapped, and the master exclaimed, "Oh, what have you done?" Narendra then turned the drums. The master said to him, "You're beating that drum, and I feel as if someone were slapping my cheek." Referring to the kirtan, Narendra said, "There is not much rhythm in the kirtan. That's why it is so popular and the people love it so much." Master, how silly. People like it because it is so tender and full of pathos. Narendra sang, "Sweet is your name, a refuge of the humble. It falls like sweetest nectar on our ears and comforts us, O beloved of our souls." He sang again, "O Lord, must all my days pass by so utterly in vain? Down the path of hope I gaze with longing day and night. You are the Lord of all the worlds, and I but a beggar here. How can I ask of you to come and dwell within my heart? My poor heart's humble cottage door is standing wide open. Be gracious, Lord. Enter there but once and quench its thirst." Master de Hazra smiling. That was the very first song he sang for me. Narendra sang one or two more songs. Then Vaishnav Charan sang, describing the grief of the gopis at the sight of Krishna as king of Mathura. "O Hari, how shall we know you now? In Mathura's royal splendor you have forgotten us." Master, won't you sing that one, "O Veena, sing the Lord Hari's name"? Vaishnav Charan sang, "O Veena, sing the Lord Hari's name. Without the blessing of his feet, you cannot know the final truth. The name of Hari slays all grief. Sing Hari's name, sing Krishna's name. If only Hari shows his grace, then I shall never be distressed. O Veena, sing his name but once. No earthly gem is half so rare. Govinda says, in vain my days have passed. No longer may I float here in life's trackless ocean waste." While listening to the song, the master became abstracted, saying, "Ah me, ah me." He went into samadhi. The devotees were sitting around him, and their eyes were riveted on him. The room was filled with people. The master in ecstasy. The musician sang again. As he improvised new lines describing ecstatic love of God, the master stood up and danced. He himself improvised lines and sang them with outstretched arms. Soon he went into samadhi and sat down with his head resting on the bolster in front of him. Well, that's an interesting way of sitting. The musician also carried away with emotion and sang new songs. Sri Ramakrishna again stood up and began to dance. The devotees could not control themselves. They too danced with the master. While dancing, Sri Ramakrishna every now and then went into a deep samadhi. When he was in the deepest samadhi, he could not utter a word, and his whole body remained transfixed. The devotees danced encircling him. After a while, regaining partial consciousness, he danced with the strength of a lion, intoxicated with an ecstatic love. But even then, he could not utter a word. Finally, regaining more of the consciousness of the world, he sang again, improvising the lines. An intense spiritual atmosphere was created in Adar's parlor. At the sound of the loud music, a large crowd had gathered in the street. Sri Ramakrishna danced a long time in the company of the devotees. When he resumed his seat, still tinged with the lingering glow of divine fervor, he asked Narendra to sing, "O Mother, make me mad with your love." Narendra sang, "O Mother, make me mad with your love. What need have I of knowledge or reason?" Master, and that one, "Upon the sea of blissful awareness." Narendra sang, "Upon the sea of blissful awareness, waves of ecstatic love arise. Rapture divine, play of God's bliss. Oh, how enthralling." Master, "Oh, and that one too, in wisdom's firmament. Maybe it's too long. Do you think so? All right, sing it slowly." Narendra sang, "In wisdom's firmament, the moon of love is rising full, and love's flood tide is surging waves, is flowing everywhere. O Lord, how full of bliss you are. Victory to you." Master, and won't you sing that one, "The wine of heavenly bliss"? Narendra sang, "Be drunk, O mind. Be drunk with the wine of heavenly bliss. Roll on the ground and weep, chanting Hari's sweet name. Fill the arching heavens with your deep lion roar, singing Hari's sweet name. With both your arms upraised, dance in the name of Hari, and give his name to all. Swim by day and by night in the bliss of Hari's love. Slay desire with his name, and blessed be your life." The Master improvised, "Be drunk with prema and weep, chanting Hari's sweet name. Be mad with divine fervor and weep, chanting his name." Sri Ramakrishna and the devotees rested a while. Narendra said that to the Master in a low voice, "Will you kindly sing that one?" "Master, my voice has become a little hoarse." After a few minutes, he asked Narendra, "Which one?" Narendra, "Gaur, whose beauty delights the world." So Sri Ramakrishna sang, "Who has brought Gaur to Nadia? Gaur, whose beauty delights the world. His face, covered with ringlets of hair, shines like lightning against the dark cloud." Again he sang, and this time about the grief of a gopi at her separation from Sri Krishna. "I have not found my Krishna, O friend. How cheerless my home is without him. Ah, if Krishna could only be the hair upon my head. Carefully I should braid it then, and deck it with the bakul flower. Carefully I should fashion the braids out of my Krishna hair. Krishna is black, and black is my hair. Black would be one with black. Ah, if Krishna could only be the ring I wear in my nose. Always from my nose he would hang, and my two lips could touch him. But it can never be, alas. Why should I idly dream? Why should Krishna care at all about to be the ring on my nose? Oh, if Krishna could only be the bracelet on my arms. Always he would cling to my wrists, and proudly I would walk, shaking my bracelets to make them sound, shaking my arms to show them. Down the king's highway I would walk, wearing my Krishna bracelets." The music was over, and the Master began to talk with the devotees. Did you catch the intensity of that whole scene? I mean, he's dancing and in ecstasy and in samadhi at times, transfixed, and the devotees all dancing around him, chanting God's name and singing these beautiful songs of devotion. Then he would come to and dance like a lion. I mean, like with a real energy, a real abandonment, right? Singing those names, again going into samadhi, again dancing, sitting down. Literally, when he sat down, he just fell forward and puts his face flat into a pillow in front of him, to recover from that. And then to get up and dance again, and then to sit there and ask Narendra to sing, "Oh, sing that song," and then that song, "Oh, and sing that song, oh, and sing that song." You can just see the enthusiasm, just nobody wants this to end. Nobody wants this beautiful scene to stop. Master, smiling. Hazra danced. Narendra, yes, a little. Master, a little. Narendra, yes. His belly danced too. Everybody laughed. I'm not going to tell you what the original says, but the original doesn't say his belly danced. Now, I would suggest you go find out. It's a very funny, it's a very funny passage. Yes, his belly danced too. Everyone laughs. Pandit Shashadar's host had been thinking of inviting the master for dinner. Master, I've heard that his host is not an honest man, that he's immoral. Narendra, that is why you didn't drink the water he touched. It happened the first day you met Shashadar at his house. How did you come to know that he was immoral? Master, smiling. Hazra knows of another instance. It happened at Sihor in Hriday's house. Hazra, the man was a Vaishnava. He came with me to see you, meaning Sri Ramakrishna. And as soon as he sat in front of you, you turned your back on him. Master, we learned later that he led an immoral life. To Narendra, you used to say at first that these were all hallucinations. Narendra, how was I to know? Now I see that you are always right. Adar had prepared a feast for the master and the devotees, and now he invited them to the meal. The master said to the Mukherjee brothers, What, won't you eat? They said humbly, Please excuse us. Master, but why? You're doing everything else. Why this hesitation only about eating the meal? You see, Adhar was a low-caste Hindu. Therefore, some of the master's Brahmin devotees hesitated to eat at his house. They came to their senses at last when they saw Ramakrishna himself eating. See, Ramakrishna was very firm in the fact that there is no caste amongst devotees, right? That in under God, all of us, regardless of nationality, caste, culture, country, orientation, whatever it is, we are all brothers and sisters together. We're family, right? And so he did not like this casteism, any of these isms that would separate the devotees. Oh, I can't eat at his house. He's low caste. You know, oh, I don't hang out with that person. He's not spiritual enough for me. It's like, no, when as devotees, we look and assume the best in each other. We look for and assume the best in each other, right? That is the way we go forward. If we don't with these deal with these likes and dislikes and pettiness and grudges and all that nonsense. That's for the world. That's not for us. So Adar was a low caste Hindu. It was about 9 o'clock, and the master was resting in the drawing room with his devotees. He would soon leave for Dakshineshwar. The Mukherjee brothers had arranged with a singer of kirtan to entertain the master the following day. Ram was taking singing lessons from this musician. Sri Ramakrishna asked Narendra to come to Dakshineshwar to hear the kirtan. The master to Narendra, Come tomorrow, won't you? Narendra, I'll try, sir. Master, you can bathe there and also take your meal. Pointing to M, he may dine there too. To M, are you quite well now? I hope you are not on a diet. M, no, sir, I'll come. Nitya Gopal was living at Vrindavan. Chunilal had returned from Vrindavan only a few days before, and the master inquired about Nitya Gopal. As Sri Ramakrishna was about to leave, M saluted him, touching the master's feet with his forehead. The master said to him tenderly, Then I shall see you tomorrow. Narendra, Bhavanat, please come tomorrow. Then with several devotees he set out for Dakshineshwar. The other devotees returned home in the moonlit night, cherishing in their hearts the master's ecstatic music and dancing. All right. We're at chapter 27, and we'll start there next week and stop for tonight.